And then, as we talk about the Greater Cambridge Partnership and your position on there, to go to these questions from listeners on the streets of Cambridge.
This is Stephen Arbery. Question for Mike. The Conservatives recently won the by-election. Has this sent out a strong message to Labour about the congestion charge?
Hi, I'm Joy from Cambridge. I voted because I am against the congestion charge, and I'd like to know what's happening about it, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carl from Arbery. I've got a question from Mike. With the congestion charge that's coming in, I'd be very interested to know how they're going to guarantee that it will continue to improve public transport in the future, and we won't just end up in the same position we're in now in 10 years' time.
Hi, I'm Linda from Arbery. I have a question from Mike. I voted Conservative, which I don't normally do, simply because they're against the congestion charge. So is this going to make you think any more about it?
Hello, this is Colin from Arbery. Just a question for Mike. The congestion charge, would you stop it? The Conservatives are the only ones who said that they would stop the congestion charge. The others are sitting on the fence or going for it. Recently in King's Hedges, the Conservatives won. So does that send out a message to you and your Labour colleagues?
So just a bit of context, there was recently a by-election in King's Hedges. It was held by the Labour Party, now held by the Conservatives, who ran on a ticket in the same way they did in Long Stanton and enjoyed success on being 100% opposed to the congestion charge. Where do you stand on the proposed congestion charge for Cambridge City? Councillor Davey.
Well, at the moment, the proposals aren't very clear. So if I can...
In what way?
Well, because
It's quite clear, isn't it? You get charged 10 quid there or thereabouts to go in or move around the city.
Well, in which case, that's easy to say. That's not what's proposed at the moment. So the consultation's taken place. That was part of that. And so those initial considerations are given. That initial proposal will not take place. So that's the first thing to say. And there's all sorts of negotiations now taking place. Asked repeatedly, are we thinking about the congestion charge? I think about precious little, if I'm honest, little else. Since becoming leader, I've spent hours and hours and hours discussing, debating, talking, listening, not always agreeing. That's the important bit. Listening doesn't mean agreeing, but it's dominated political life in this city at the moment, and it's no point in getting away from that. So do we think about it? Yes. Do we think about what the right approach is? Yes. And at the moment, what's happening, going back to one of the questions, where we're currently at, is that the GCP has undertaken a consultation. As I said, that proposal, the one you referred to, Jeremy, will not be going ahead. So they're then adapting or looking at adaptations to their proposal to see if that's acceptable both to the public in the city but also to the politicians in the city. So where we're at in that is that the officers of the GCP are then looking at what may or may not come forward. Important thing to stress is that there's still the option of not doing the congestion charge remains on the table, but, and this comes back to, oddly enough, to the very first questions you asked me, if we don't do a congestion charge, we have to do something about air quality and congestion in this city. And when you hear things like Michael Gove proposing 250,000 homes, how could we move about unless something is done? Even with the current proposals around the local plan, that's 50,000 more homes in and around the city. So therefore something needs to be done. So if it's not a congestion charge, what is that? So at the moment, what the GCP are looking at is the proposals about how a congestion charge might be adapted. Now, are we sitting on the fence or not? Well, no, you don't usually buy something if you don't know what it is. So we need to hear from the GCP officers what it is they're proposing, and then we will consider it accordingly.
But you're saying the original plans won't go ahead, no. But the adaptions, it's tinkering, isn't it? It's maybe adjusting the price, it's maybe adjusting the boundaries to take in Adam Brooks, it's maybe adjusting the times that the congestion charge comes into effect, but it's not a massive departure from the original proposals.
I'm not sure I agree that tinkering.
Well, why not?
Because tinkering, if you then just have it about, and I'm not saying I'm in favour of this, I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that it's not what it. No, it's about. Again, there's two separate questions there. If I finish the thing about the tinkering, if it's just a peak time charge only, that's very different from 24 hours a day. So that's not.
Well, it was never 24 hours a day. It was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
But what I'm saying is that it's change. It's significant change in the proposals. The cost of the charge may change, but we need to see that. And again, I come back to why would I say I'm in favour or against something if I don't know what I'm in favour or against, what I'm being asked to vote on?
Well, because the Conservatives are saying what they feel, and it's winning with the people. It would appear.
It would appear they won won the by-election. Well, it's not would appear, they did win the by-election. We just have to take that on the chin. There are certain nuances there because the Liberal Democrats and the Labour vote, if you put it together, was significantly more than the Conservative vote. But this is democracy, and if I don't acknowledge that the Conservatives won that by-election and, important stress, did well in both King's Hedges and Cherry Hinton previous to that in May, then it becomes laughable. So we have to look at that and have to look at it seriously and acknowledge that a significant proportion of the public in this city have real concerns about the congestion charge, as was proposed back in December.
But that lady who said I voted Conservative, I never do. I usually vote Labour. Where do you stand as a party on the congestion charge? How do you answer that? How do you answer her question? Do you support a congestion charge?
Well, I can't again come back to you. You wouldn't expect me to support something when I don't know what it is that I'm being asked to support. So I need to look at the proposals. As a group, we need to move on. That's clear. As a Labour group, but also as a city, we need to move on because clearly this is dominating life. Until we get this sorted, there'll be continues to be and I have to say, quite a binary debate. People are like yes or no, and you're quite rightly asking me yes or no, but what am I saying yes to? I come back to the key point though. If there isn't a congestion charge, and I'm not saying there should be, but we need to do something about air quality and we need to do something about congestion in this city. So we need to find solutions to a problem we know is coming and emerging. This may not be the right one, but we need to do something.
Well, let's look at the issue about public transport. Can you say whether you're happy about the constituent parts in the plan of the public transport offering?
Well, very much so. I mean, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. Was it 75%? Is it 75% of those who were asked in the consultation, do you want better bus services? And everybody said yes. The question there...
But are you confident that can be provided?
Yeah, because the planning that's been undertaken by the CPCA will be good. But the key bit, and this is really, again, an interesting dynamic, we can only provide much improved bus services if, first of all, we have the money to be able to pay for them, and secondly, the cars are on the road so the buses can get there quickly. So it's a bit of a dynamic here, and it's just hard choices that we're going to have to make as a city.
Because there has been a loss of trust in public transport when people have been stood at bus stops and there have been various cancellations and routes have disappeared, and people, particularly people who work in the city from further afield, feel like they've just been cut dry. They've been left out to...
Yeah, I wholly agree, and I think one of the proposals around bus franchising, whereby the authority to oversee buses will go to the combined authority, is a good one, because it means that public services, what we want for our residents, become the top priority rather than necessarily profits. And so that has to be a good thing in my book. Goes back to what I was saying earlier on about how a Labour authority can start to drive things through that are right for the people of this city. But I come back to difficult choices. If you don't have the money, the service is less. If you don't have that lack of congestion so buses can get through more quickly, there are problems.
When your chief exec picks up the phone and asks to speak to Michael Gove later on today, and he says, well, yeah, that's our plan, Cambridge 2040, 250,000 new homes in and around Cambridge. Does this make talk of plans to accommodate public transport and a congestion charge a nonsense?
No,
because they'd have to be completely different to accommodate that number of people.
Well, I think in the announcements by whoever it was, there was reference in his concept to transport, including like railway, including tram, blah, blah, blah. And again, until we know what it is that Mr. Gove is wanting us to do or suggesting we do, it's very difficult for us to comment sensibly. But in fairness, he did mention transport, but God knows what he meant by it.
Is there a version of the congestion charge that you would come out and say, I support?
Well, I need to see it. I'm sorry to avoid. I need to see what that proposal is. I need to consult.
No, he's asking you for a bloody proposal.
And also my group, because I'm not here to say what I think. I'm here to represent my party. So I need to go back and look at what's proposed. That will come quite soon, I think, to be honest, John. So I'll be able to come back, hopefully, and say, well, we like that or we don't like it. But at the moment, until I see those proposals, it's very difficult to comment.
How soon do you think that will be? Will I still be on air? I'm only here till the end of the month.
Well, I hope so. The deadlines, the timelines, as I understand it, because it goes back again to the County Council for the final decision, will be early autumn. So will you be still on air? I think you'll probably probably know what we think by then, hopefully.
This final question from Liam. Question for Mike. How do you think that Dunfermline will do this season after being promoted to the Scottish Championship?
I have every confidence that we will do very well indeed, and I thank Liam for that call.
You don't sound Scottish, but that's your team.
Yeah,
is it?
well, my family's from Edinburgh, and I haven't lived there